So British independence is trending on Twitter, and there's an absolute meltdown coming from the Remainer leftist types who are taking this to basically validate what Anne Widdecombe was saying, that the British people are being oppressed by the EU, and they're outraged by this. They're absolutely outraged. Adam Connor Lewis, Scottish author. Imagine having the gall to use a term like British independence when 1, the UK is already fucking independent, and 2, half the world has spent the last 2 centuries genuinely fighting for independence from this country's colonial fuckery. Hashtag Brexit. If we are already independent, why are we still talking about Brexit? But the thing is, we're not, are we? We actually have a superior legislative body above our parliament. Decisions are made above our heads that affect our lives. I don't know why you have to say that we're already independent if we are actually a part of the European Union. How can you even say, there's nothing wrong with the term British independence to follow from British independence from the European Union. That's a shorthand version. There is no conflict of morals in that. That is a perfectly accurate way of describing what is happening with Brexit. That's what it is. We do not want to be part of a federal union. We are going to be independent of that. But why are you so pissed off, Adam? That's the question. What you're saying it's not true, obviously, and it doesn't matter whether the rest of the world has been fighting for independence from us up until the 60s and 70s. We are not in the 60s and 70s, and what you're saying is there is such a thing as not being independent, and if we can categorize ourselves to not be independent, then we follow the rest of the world in their just cause for independence. We agree with them. There's a reason that we have good relations with our ex-colonies, which is quite marvellous, really. You wouldn't think so, but we do. The British Empire just was not as oppressive as you're portraying it. It wasn't Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany or any other socialist place you can think of. We were remarkably inclined towards self-rule anyway. I mean, there is a reason that 64% or something of Jamaicans thought that Jamaica was run better under the British. There is a reason that people in Hong Kong are currently flying the Union Jack in the face of a state capitalist regime, shall we call it. I think that really we should be a little more appreciative of our country's colonial history sometimes, because if you think about it, the alternatives are just generally worse. A liberal state does have to do certain things to establish itself and keep itself maintained in the face of other things. And so, yeah, you can say, well, this is this oppression that, there are definitely instances of oppression, but compared to what? That's the thing. Compared to what? Compared to the eternal regime of the Aztecs killing people to make sure the sun rises? The rule of the emperors or Tsars? I mean, compared to what? Because I don't know whether you've noticed, but everyone was conquering everyone, man. Fucking everyone was at it. And they loved it. It was something they trained for their whole lives. Entire empires with... I mean, the history of humanity is the history of empire, okay? That's the easiest way to do it. The idea of independent nation states that respect each other's sovereignty, that's pretty new. It's a stupid and eternally recursive argument, and pointless, and just leaves us all feeling guilty about every nation's history. I'm not going to do it. Dr. Jennifer Cassidy, who's an Irish politics lecturer at the University of Oxford. Wow, I'm sure she doesn't have a chip on her shoulder about the British Empire. When did the Irish ever mention it? Hey guys, how's it going? I opened Twitter and what's trending? I don't know, but it's definitely going to get you indignant. Hashtag British independence. My God. Those goddamn British people thinking that independence is a good thing. How terrible is that? Imagine the arrogance and ignorance of using this term. It sounds like they know what they're talking about, having oppressed a quarter of the globe and then given up that empire. It sounds like they might actually know what they're talking about. In fact, I think we might actually be experts in the subject. Just saying. We've seen it so many times. Westminster colonised so much of the globe that the sun never set in its empire. Yeah, stop threatening us with a good time. So many nations are still today suffering from these actions. Have some respect, okay? A lot of them are also suffering because of things they did come independence, though, aren't they? I mean, Africa is not our fault at this point. It's the fault of socialism. It's communist fucking regimes taking over countries and doing silly shit. Or compare it to someone like Botswana that becomes a capitalist country, ends up with a GDP of like 17 grand a year, average wage of 17 grand a year. Like, this is not just simply you can go, well, empire evil. It's way more complicated than that. And it's childish. Again, there are places around the world at the moment flying the British imperial flag in defiance of authoritarianism. For those using British independence hashtag in a serious manner, remember no colonial nation of Britain had an Article 50. That was terribly written, but yeah, no nation that Britain had colonised had an Article 50 get out clause. Yeah, we know. Yeah. We know that's the case. They were part of an empire, right? The EU is very close to being an empire, so we're looking for independence. And like, oh, you always had independence, always. No. If we are not actually independent to make our own laws, and we're not in the European Union, that being the point of the European Union, that they harmonise the rules and regulations and laws of Europe, obviously we're not independent. Obviously we have to take an action. Say a referendum. That would be useful, wouldn't it? And then just go through the Article 50 process, because we knew we'd want to get out eventually, right? Seriously, it's like, why are you so offended? I suspect Dominic Cummings is behind this pitiful attempt to rebrand the willfully idiotic carnage of hard Brexit with superficially fluffy sounding hashtag British independence. We were never independent. Oh. Well, okay, I guess Will Black, another writer / journalist, is going to tell us how we were never independent. I mean, it's just contradicting the entire narrative that your colleagues have been spinning. Why am I seeing hashtag British independence being a thing like they didn't colonise 25% of the world? Who cares? We recognise the virtues of independence. As in, you have it. We agree that's a good thing. So why can't we also ask for independence since we have lost that? Why wouldn't you be supportive of that? Why would you sound jealous? Why would you sound like, oh God, they're taking some of my victimhood? If you're going to use a ridiculous hashtag like British independence, then this article might be a good starting point. A list of countries that have gained independence from the United Kingdom. So we all agree that independence is a good thing, and that it is something we can define, it's something that can happen, and I think that we can categorise Britain as not independent of the European Union, so we can ask for independence as well. What? Or are we not all equal? Are we not all a brotherhood of nations? Are we not all of the same common humanity? Is there something different and special about the British? I don't think there is there? I don't think you've thought this through very well, and I don't think you want to kind of make it sound like there is. So how about we agree that Britain should become independent of the European Union because the majority of the British voting public voted for it? Seems perfectly fair to me, but you're getting upset about this, and I'm really curious as to why. And I just want to say the statistics are still in for the Brexiteer side. 54% of people support Boris's Brexit pledge of leaving no later than October the 31st. Enough. That would be enough on its own. But other ones should be delayed for another 3 months till January. 49% disagree with that. 29% agree. Like, no, people just want this over, man. Just end this nonsense. If we have to frame it like British independence from the European Union, which it is, then let's do it that way. What's wrong with that? Can you not see how we're being treated? Like, I can't believe. I don't think we surely didn't treat India this badly when they left.